Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to have a look at another vehicle coming to the game in the next major update, La Royale, and this is the Magach Hydra. So, what is this vehicle? Imagine you take a standard Magach, whether it's an M60 or an M48, and then you go, you know what we need? Rockets. That's pretty much what the Magach Hydra is. What you'll find it in is actually, you'll find it folded with the Magach 6R. The Magach 6R has access to some pretty cool stuff. It has some ERA, it has some extra smoke grenades, and also it has some, kind of like the tow thing on the front, which you can put quite a nice bush on this, which is quite nice. It's got this tow bar thing here. Now, imagine if you removed all of that, plus a 50 cal, and added Hydras. That's this, which is just astonishing. So, you lose the 50 cal, you lose the RA, you lose the smoke grenades, which is probably the big thing, and you gain some Hydras, which don't have the same shooting, like they're not lined up with the gun basically. So you have to aim the gun down in order to use them. Now you can see here how they're set up. Now, everything else is basically the same. It's got the 4-man crew, the driver, the gunner, commander, and also loader. It even has the first stage ammo storage of 22 pieces, which means that it's really easy to kill this thing, because all of the ammo is just sat here in a vertical position, which is very annoying. And also, you know, it has the 750 horsepower engine, which is fantastic. You know, moving around the 46.5 ton machine, it can go forwards pretty well and also can go backwards pretty well. You know, the M60s and the M48s are kind of the standard MBTs that generally, you know, you kind of get used to. They're the standard rock, which you look to and go, okay, that's what I visualize this kind of like period of time to look like for tanks, which means that a lot of the stuff is bog standard. It's got the 105 Sharia, which is just the M68, which is basically just the L7, and it has access to the M111 round, which is a good round. You do have to get to rank 3 modifications to get it, so you're going to be using heat until that point, which is a bit of a pain, because at these BRs you start running into composite armor, especially on stuff like the T55 AM1, and also AMD, but at least you get the M111 as kind of a reprieve from that. You also get the heat, as we talked about, the HESH, which is useless, and the smoke, which I suppose for this vehicle is a bit more useful, because you don't get any smoke grenades, because you get Hydras instead. The gun is not stabilized. It does have some pretty good targeting speed though, and overall kind of nice use, but yeah, it's generally not something which is... it kind of is a limit for the vehicle. Pretty much all the M60s or Magachs after this do get stabilizers, which makes them a lot easier to play, and these ones are only 8.3 because they gave it basically the M111 round. So yeah, that's how that goes. These Hydras, so they're M247s, they have access to 290mm of pen at most, then 251 and 145 for the other angles, plus you have 1.19 kilos of TNT equivalents, which is quite nice in them, so they can overpressure stuff, you know, they can go after lighter targets, and also can pen even medium tanks that you'll face. The main problem, as I said, is just the arc of them, which doesn't really work too well for the vehicle, and also for anything else. At least you don't have to unlock them, so you get them stock, I suppose. That's kind of a positive thing. That's something to look forward to. Doesn't get a laser rangefinder, but does get the standard rangefinder, which does help this vehicle quite a lot, since the gun, before you get the M111 round, doesn't have the best velocity, and that can be a problem. But I think it's probably best to kind of demonstrate the issues with this, and if you just compare it to the Magach 6R, you remove a bunch of things that make it useful, and you add something which is useless and keep it at the same BR. It's definitely rough for the vehicle in general. So let's talk about these Hydras. Could these things be useful? Yeah, they probably could be, if a few things were different. So let's say you're aiming at this target, right? So this is the IT-1. Let's see where the rockets go. Bit high, aren't they? So what you have to do in order to hit a target, you have to aim the gun down and be able to adjust until you hit. So the way that you're going to use things like this is you're going to go bang, like shoot, and then on the reload you're going to roll down and then try and hit the thing with rockets, and then once you reload it again, you're going to fire again, and then you're just going to keep doing that over and over again and hoping for the best, right? Like that, at least the way that I see it, that's how these things go. And against like heavier targets, it's going to be a little bit rough. You do weirdly have a reload for the rockets. I don't really know where this reload is because it's not on the X-ray, but you know, you do get a reload for them at least. And then, you know, for other vehicles like lighter ones like the Shilka here, it probably would be a little bit easier to maybe destroy them or do damage or whatever. But still, you have to aim them in such a way which makes your gun completely useless. So the only time you're ever going to use these rockets is either when the gun is either out of action or when you're on a reload, which is not really what you want from a vehicle like this. You want to try and use them in tandem, which makes stuff like the Object 122 so powerful at the end of the day. You can see even like aiming at this Shilka here, it's not exactly the easiest thing to do to be able to get out. So what this is a Magach 6R with a lot of the nice things taken from it and then a gimmick added to it. And the gimmick itself is not entirely useful, I think is probably the way to put it. Is it still, you know, a decent vehicle? Yeah, of course it is. It's an M60. It's really hard to go wrong with an M60. Most people enjoy them for good reason. They're pretty box standard MBT. They work well. Did I wish this thing had a stabilizer instead of the rockets? Well, of course. You know, I don't know anybody who would say otherwise. Would I actually prefer smoke grenades instead of this? Yes. Would I prefer ERA instead of this? Of course. I'm kind of surprised this isn't like a weird wonky event vehicle instead of a folded vehicle in the tech tree. Folded because, I mean, why would you really play this since there's already a bunch of other A3s that exist which also have more capabilities than this thing. This one's just in a weird place, you know, as a vehicle, and generally has, you know, a tough time, I will think, going forward. And I don't know why people would use this over the 6R, apart from crazy people like me who like to spade everything. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Millie Draper, Juan the Panda, Nick R. Kupila, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Merciless Reaper, Orange Tail, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Moxie B. Young, Peter Grayling, Jerry Provolt, Bareen, Alan Hacker, Sem Arslan, Uncle Bean, Derek R., and Lafouche for supporting the channel.